gathering that we're going to meet with, at least obviously for January. And I'm holding off as we step forward over the next few weeks because I believe that with this buzz training that I know that Vince is doing, and the other specials that are going on, I'm not really sure what's going to pick up for the next few weeks here. And I know that on Wednesday evening is where he'll be doing most of his training and program. So, if you've not had a chance and didn't take advantage of that special, it's still there. Do that. I'll tell you, when you look at the cost of the product and getting, 2 packs of those samples, believe me, I think that's a lot better than in some cases using the app. I know the app is possible. That's true. But, sometimes just having them in your hands and being in a position where you can even, mail one out yourself. And I just like that. I just want to be, I couldn't wait till we had those samples available. So just take advantage of that. And when you really look at the value that Vince is bringing to the table here, and, to be upfront, when it comes to personal development, sometimes for me, I thought, okay, there's a lot of motivation and, we hear a lot about that. But, personal development, and I think I alluded to this the other night on the call, but it's in some cases just getting a chance to take a good, clear look at yourself and thinking about the things that maybe you need to unload, that you don't need to continue to carry along with you, that subconsciously kind of hinder you. And sometimes we don't really see that. And so, I believe, of course, God gives us all of our answers, and for the most part, they're all right down here inside of us. But sometimes we've just got a lot of stuff to get moved out of the way before we can really find that true passion, that talent, that whatever it is we might be looking for in ourselves, or that we'd like to ultimately develop. And because a lot of times it's already there. You just need to get, like I said, things out of the way that are holding you back. When I think about this business, and that's really what I wanted to touch on a little bit tonight is, when we look at the business for me is the product, because there's people literally, I think, on their knees crying and praying, looking for answers where their health is concerned. And just for myself, a guy that, for the most part, if you weren't wearing a white coat and had a stethoscope, I wasn't listening to you if you had anything to say about health, because, for all my life, basically, that's the paradigm I came from. And of course, when I married Judy and a lot of the challenges that she was facing and that progressively continued to get worse, we still look for hope there. And so I don't ever want people to think that I'm criticizing our incredible medical doctors or people of that nature, because it's not really about that. It's realizing that there's some things that we got to do ourselves that maybe we don't know about, and maybe we haven't quite seen it the way it should be. And the reason I say that is when you look at what's going on out here, and people talk about eating better and having, better nutrition, and, people start shopping better. They look at the fruits and vegetables that they're eating on a daily basis. And, all of that is in, I realize I've been muted out. Sorry about that. Thank you.
Sorry, I tried to admit somebody and I muted you in the process.
Uh-oh. I don't know where I left off or got started from, but that's okay. My point being is when I look at this business and the business of helping people understand this product, I came from that paradigm where, I believe if you had a health challenges, you go to a doctor and, follow that advice, and that's really all you did. And again, I don't want to be critical, because I'm not here to say that we shouldn't go see our great medical doctors and our incredible professionals that have dedicated their lives, I think, to looking to help people find answers where their health is concerned. And, just like my wife, Judy, if it wasn't for the incredible doctors that have helped her over the years, I don't know where she would be today. But I also know this, as so dedicated I believe that our professionals are, there's a lot that we've got to start doing that they just cannot do for us. And when we talk about good nutrition, we talk about things like that, it's not just about, the things that you put on your plate. Obviously, it's about some things you don't put on your plate. You leave some things out, and you start looking at different things that you may eat. But when it comes to giving your body the parts that it's looking for so that it will fundamentally function the way God designed it, for the most part, I don't think you can actually eat adequately on a regular basis to give your body those parts. I just don't believe that. And I've had some people, very knowledgeable in nutrition and dietitian, et cetera, not to be critical, but that they absolutely believe that you could get, the things your body needed from the things you put on your plate and ate on a regular basis. And I just know that that's not true. I know we've dealt with people from Olympic athletes all the way down to people that are probably just couch potatoes, like a lot of people. And you know what? They're all dealing with the same kind of problem. So there's a measure of truth in both sides of this, but those additional parts that are critical for the body have got to be put in. And I think where we as a company probably shine better than companies I've been involved with over the last 40 years that I've been around this model called network marketing. And even though that's not the model that we're involved with Alivea, we do use a couple parts of that and to put together this entire platform we call social business. You can operate this as an affiliate. You can just become a loyal customer and serve children. So there's all kinds of ways to be a part of this movement, but those that choose, I don't know how my mute keeps getting muted, but we can watch that. So again, as social business partners, we can build teams and as they say, teams of teams, but it's all about helping people understand the value of what we offer. And when I think about the different products here, people get confused sometimes and what do I need to take? And I've looked at this, in a lot of different ways. And I know there's a lot of ingredients that the body needs, and it's more than 3 or 4 or 5 or 8 or 10. There's a lot of things. In fact, I saw a poster on the wall down in a doctor's office in Texas, and it was a life-size poster of the human body. And it had all the factors and the ingredients that were necessary for every level of cellular function. And I mean, there must have been hundreds of thousands, if not more, actual, minute ingredients. And so, I mean, it's overwhelming. But see, people can't get their mind around that. So when they say, well, what do I need to take? Well, it all starts, where I'm concerned, it starts with cellular communication. And that's in a bottle of Ace Mannan. That's a bottle of Immune, as we call it. And that's the state of the art, the leading technology in this stabilized aloe that was discovered back in the mid 80s. And that discovery, I think they were dumbfounded when it was identified. As it came up through traditional channels and it was found to be non-toxic, it had no drug interaction, which was referred to as P450. And it was funny how they even made it to the second trial, because if you can't prove a toxicity when you present something before the FDA, then it's automatically classified as a food, not a drug. But they also knew when they were presenting this that the laboratory animals that they were testing it on, the rats, if you will, could not regurgitate. And so they fed enough of this to the rat actually drowned. So it's kind of funny to say they moved to step 2 on a drowned rat, but that's exactly how they moved to step 2. So now they were able to test it for drug interaction and to see if it had any problem with other medications, over the counter types of drugs, or in fact even other nutritional or herbal supplements. And there was found to be no interaction whatsoever. In fact, it was so non-interactive, it actually complemented human biology in every way. And ultimately, later in years, was discovered to be active in the human body, especially in mother's breast milk. So that original identity to discover, was this actually a drug, and where they were going to go. And I think, again, that's where God put his hand down and literally blocked this from getting into the powers that be. Because when you really look at how this has played itself out over the years, and we really begin to understand the role of Ace Mannan, we hear about it, the big fractions being converted to feed, healthy bacteria in the gut, being converted to short chain fatty acids. And that's true. The larger fractions do. And the medium fractions are there to activate the macrophage, which is your front line of defense in your immune system. But those very small fractions allow the body to build these structures referred to as glycoproteins. And those structures around every single cell is how cells communicate their needs. In other words, I don't care, like I've said before, if you've dropped a brick on your foot or you've got something growing between your ears that you don't even know about. It's how your body goes, wait, we got a problem here. When you pick up a pathogen and you walk into a store and you breathe in, or maybe somebody sneezes in line somewhere, and you're standing there and you breathe in and, you pick up a virus or a bacteria or something, and it gets into your system. That's referred to as a pathogen. And so when your body picks those things up, the first thing that happens is your body, sends out these little things that your cells are, looking for everything that might get into your body. They're called monocytes and granulocytes. They're just these little, I call them Pac-Men, and they're always going through the body and they're looking for things that don't belong there. And when they find something, whether these pathogens or these viruses or bacterias, all of a sudden they see it and they grab it, they hold on to it. At that point, they start sending out communicative signals. It's like when the alarm goes off and somebody breaks in your house, and all of a sudden you sit up in bed and realize somebody's breaking in. Well, the innate system is when the alarm goes off. It's when those little Pac-Men find that virus and they start sending signals back, screaming and yelling, hey, we found something, we need help here. So now the alarm is going off and your immune system is beginning to respond. Well, who responds? The macrophage. They come out and find out what's going on here, and they discover that you picked up this particular type of pathogen. And all of a sudden it's sending communicative signals back to your immune system, and it's starting to fire these bullets called antibodies. And ultimately, some don't and some do work. But when it finds the ones that work, it begins to kill that pathogen and keeps it encapsulated and ultimately gets it out of the system. A lot of times you'll see bacteria will come out through, diarrhea related issues and through your digestive tract. A lot of times a virus will come out in the form of a cold sore or a pimple or something like that. And of course, we know fungi and things of that nature can come out just like toxins in the form of rashes and things where the blood is closer to the skin, such as under the arms or in the groin area, the backs of the legs. And we see people break out with rashes. And a lot of times that's toxicity, things that are coming out of your system, an invasion of some, defective ingredient that your body doesn't like. So that's what we refer to as a fungi or something along those lines. But the virus and the bacteria are dealt with in those other ways. But the body responds to those things in some ways similar. And it's all about activating and responding and getting the immune system to respond to that. And that's exactly what your body's doing hundreds of thousands of times by the second. And every time you breathe in, it's investigating everything coming in and all of this. And so that's when they talk about a healthy immune system is your immune system positioned to recognize pathogens? Is it able to respond to them and carry out normal human physiology to deal with them? And what's really neat is once the body has found the correct antibody and has killed that particular invader, then it kind of puts a stockpile back and says, hey, we ever see that again, we know what to do. And it's got that on hand to do it with. Similar to what a vaccine actually does. It actually puts a little bit of the invader in there or something similar to mimic that to get the body to respond. If the body responds favorably, it again puts a little stockpile in place to be prepared for the next time. And that's the nature of how our body builds an innate immunity, a very responsible and productive immune system. And that's why they used to jokingly say when kids were little, let them play in the dirt, and pick up all kinds of stuff because their bodies get stronger, if they're actually having to deal with those types of pathogens. And they've always said, when kids are so well protected, they literally don't get sick. Sooner or later, they grow up being sick all the time because our bodies are made to defend themselves. They're made to heal themselves. And the way the body goes about doing that is something very, very simple, but is so complex that even science, I don't believe, will ever understand it. And that's something called cellular communication. It's just like us sitting here talking. I'm using the English language. And if I was just leaving one letter out of every word, some of you would maybe struggle with what I was trying to say. It's just like if I was speaking a foreign language and you, of course, didn't speak that language. So communication is the key. People talk about how well your vehicle may run. Well, you know what? It doesn't matter if it runs perfectly or if it doesn't run very well. If you don't communicate between the seat and the steering wheel and the brake and the gear shift, it's just not going to run, period. I don't care how good a condition it may be in. So communication is the key. And until it's in place, everything else is like I've said before, filling up a bucket with a hole in it. You can be deficient in calcium and your body is over here and you're giving it a lot of calcium, taking additional calcium supplements, but you still seem to have that issue. It may simply because your body is not responding. And all of a sudden the endocrine system gets a phone call and says, hey, we need some calcium up here. We got bones that are losing density. And, they said, well, hey, you didn't call me because the phone lines were down. and you simply supported cellular communication. All of a sudden they got the call. They started sending that. That's why the American Longevity Institute said that 8 of the 10 biomarkers of aging will reverse when the body has the ability to communicate at the cell level. You get that? I mean, that's overwhelming. It's not because you're maybe missing something, but your body's not responding and getting it there. You know, I've heard something called insulin resistance, and I'm not here to get into treating, curing, mitigating, or anything to do with disease. But when your body doesn't recognize something, it is not going to get into that cell. And that's the bottom line. And they've even found that some forms of diabetes are just simply related to a missing sugar. Think about that a minute. Your body can't recognize glucose, so hey, it's not coming in. You know, and you're tired all the time, your blood sugars are way up there, and they refer to that as the second form. And I'm not here again to treat, cure, mitigate. I'm just telling you, it's a deficiency, and science now knows that. And we see that in rheumatoid-related issues where people are dealing with autoimmune scenarios such as arthritis, when the body is overdoing itself. In fact, it's continually doing what it thought it was doing right, but it's doing it the wrong way. And that's when you pick up a virus, for instance. Maybe it attaches to the myelin sheath on your nerves, and your body is over here, you know, trying to deal with it, and it's over here, you know, just reacting nonstop. And all of a sudden there's a little group of cells called suppressor cells, and they're over here like, hey, the virus is dead, shut the system down, stop doing that. But they don't get the message because the phone line's down. And so pretty soon the body is continually doing that to the point it actually begins to damage things in the body. And they refer to that as autoimmune types of disorders. And we see that in type 1 juvenile onset diabetes. Again, not to treat, cure, mitigate, or refer to disease, but simply because the body was, you know, probably attacking a particular virus, maybe an intestinal virus that actually attacked the pancreas. So the body goes to work to deal with that. But for whatever reason, it kind of has overdone it. And now it's actually destroyed something called the islets of Langerhans, which is the insulin producing cells in the pancreas. And all of a sudden your body just quits producing. And so now we see, again, the similar problem, but because of a different issue. And it's all because the body didn't recognize and actually destroyed something. And it was intending to just deal with the virus, maybe. So that's, again, the breakdown in cellular communication. And today we've seen things respond in so many favorable ways that it just defies wisdom, because it was seen as something that, you know, there were absolutely no answers for. Again, I'm not here to make a claim. I'm just telling you straight up the truth. It's now published in the Library of Congress, the role of glycans or sugars, saccharides, carbohydrates, however you want to refer to them. There's several names for them. But they report that the role of glycans in human physiology is the basis of how the body functions. And so it all starts with a particular set of sugars that are also identified in a very unique plant that is mentioned over 5 times in the Bible. You know, I mean, that just mind boggles me, you know, and so, you know, when you think about that, you think about the role that Ace Manning plays in the birth of a baby, from the sperm's ability to recognize an egg just to be, you know, fertilized, to actually start the process of a new life. You see, it's not life in itself. It began a long time ago because it takes a live sperm and a live egg to create new life, not one or the other that might have died. So again, life starts a long time ago, and we continue that. And through cellular communication, those 2 cells create another one. And that's where the embryo begins. And from that point forward, that unique blueprint, partly from mom and part from dad, is forming this unique structure. And through these construction workers referred to as the R-nucleic acid, the RNA, that are reading this blueprint, and they're building this baby. And over a term of about 9 months, God creates this miracle. And that miracle is there because the body has the ability to function and communicate at the cell level. Think about that a minute. Just think about that a minute, and the role that this plays in life. From there, you know, once that baby's born, as one doctor said, from the womb to the tomb, it is the basis of human physiology. So that's why it is fed to a baby when a baby is first born. That's the critical role of mother's breast milk, not formula, but mother's breast milk from that mama is so important. So, you know, when you think about that a minute and you just realize what they've unlocked in human physiology, not to mention everything else that now science is trying to mimic. They tried for 16 years. The Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences on January 22nd, 2002 stated, and I quote, altering the surface sugars associated with cancer cells can control tumor growth. But what's so funny is for over 16 years, they tried to mimic that through the applications of synthetics and drugs and other forms to actually put in the body to try and get the body to do that. And they found, as of published in November of 2018 in Nature's Journal, that only through an oral ingestion does the body do that. In other words, God made the human body that the only way it's going to work is to put it in your mouth and swallow it. And he says, that's mind-boggling. Well, we heard a doctor say that 22 years ago. Swallow it, it works. And today it does the same thing. The difference is what we've identified is the very fractions that do that real work that we're looking for at the cell level. Not that the rest of them aren't beneficial, but these critical components that we find, the small and the medium chain fractions, are the ones that really make the difference in human health when we look at the response of the human immune system. So I know I get on my soapbox about this a lot, but you know, that's why I'm here. That's why I continue to do every single day the thing I've done starting now going on 22 plus years, is to help somebody understand the value and the role of ACE mannan in the body, and to encourage people to take it every single day. That being said, people ask me, well, what do I take? And I take 8 to 10 of the immune capsules every single day. Knock on wood, as far as I know, I'm healthy. But I'm 65 years old, and a large portion of my friends, believe it or not, are no longer living. I mean, you know what it's like as we begin to age, those of you that have begun to age a little bit into your 50s and 60s now, you begin to see what happens to your friends, and sometimes we lose friends. And I've reached out to people and I've done the best I could, but not everybody listens, and not that this is going to save them, because they're on God's clock, not ours, and not theirs. So when it's your time, hey, we love you, and we'll see you again soon, because we're headed your way, I hope. And the bottom line is, while we're here, we don't want to be on that slow crawl to the grave. And so I take those 8 and sometimes 10 a day. For the last probably 6 months, myself personally, and some of you might have noticed this on calls, but I get these little fits of coughing. I get a tickle in my throat, and I've been dealing with some things. And whether I have or haven't had COVID, it's just irrelevant to me. It just doesn't matter. Hopefully I have had it, and the sooner the better, in my opinion. But the reality is, we all pick up things. And for the last 6 or 8 months, I've been dealing with something. And so there's times over the last probably 2 to 3 weeks, I've literally doubled the amount of immune. Sometimes I'll wake up at 5 or 6 in the morning, and I'm hacking and coughing, and so I'll sit up and I'll take about another 8 or 10 immune. And I've been doing that off and on for a few weeks. And I got to tell you something. The proof is in the pudding, my grandma used to say. And I begin to clean up things and see things begin to come out of me, and I feel so much better today. My sleep patterns are so much better. Judy was saying the other day, it seems like every morning you start tossing and turning. And I know, I've been realizing that too. And but the product really makes that kind of a difference for me. That's why I take a lot of it. And I've heard people say, well, Dr. Rodriguez, and according to the label, 200 milligrams twice a day, that's plenty for an average adult. And I would say, well, probably true, but this isn't the average environment we all live in. And if you're anywhere, I would say on the top side of the dirt, living anywhere in the world, in civilized areas, you're probably dealing with things the body doesn't intend to have to deal with, from toxicities and air qualities, and not to mention food and the things that we all deal with today. So believe me, I take a lot because I don't want to have a problem. When it comes to cellular communication, to me, that's step one. When it comes to the rest of our products, I'm not going to get into all those details tonight. I'd love to answer any questions or anything that may come up. But I tell people all the time, support communication, defense, regulation, nutrition, digestion, good hydration, and good exercise. And if you'll do those basically 7 things on a regular basis, I promise you, those are the things that we can physically do, on a regular basis. And I believe, the ultimate that we are hoping for is number 8, which is, again, hope. And so when I look at that and I see that, with a bottle of immune, and in most cases, a lot of people taking a lot more than 1 bottle. A lot of people I know of are taking at least 1 bottle a week, and that's 8 capsules a day, simply because of the environments and the things we're facing today. And look at what they're saying is to come. From there, we look at defense, and I see that as, with the introduction of Celebrate, one of the best products to support the defense system of our body. By the defense system, what I mean by that is how to keep cells healthy so that they communicate and regenerate correctly. There's a measurable amount of mace mannan in there, but also the level of the antioxidant with the pine bark, as well as the manuka honey, the antiviral and antibacterial capabilities of that. Not to mention the value that we know about proline, the betalain, which is the natural form of anti-inflammatory. And that in itself has been very, very beneficial in protecting cells. But you talk about a product that produces and protects the body at the cell level, and you know, life happens in its ability to regenerate. If cells don't regenerate correctly, they refer to those as cancer cells. And there's many reasons that damage cells that cause them to get out of control as they begin to regenerate. And even bad cells have blood supply, and they'll begin to replicate, and those are referred to as malignancies and tumors and things. So it's very important that you keep cells healthy so that they're able to regenerate correctly. Will that prevent cancer? No, absolutely not. These are not treatment, cures, or preventative measures at all. These are facts that we know scientifically, that if you'll just put them in on a regular basis, they give your body the right ingredients to allow it to have the propensity to do what God designed it to do. From there, we look at the regulation, as also known as the endocrine system. We know the problems that people face with synthetic hormonal additives and things. And so there's a lot of products on the market, you know, taking claim to helping people in many areas. But the reality is you've got to support human physiology with something that complements it, with something referred to as natural plant sterols. And when we look at, you know, that particular product called Balance that supports the endocrine system, we look at the Dioscorea villosus, the Diosgenin, I refer to it, it's kind of hard to say, that is found in the wild yam, is one of the purest, most impactful forms of natural plant steroid. It allows your body to build hormones and regulate upon demand. It is not an additive. It's just something, I call it like flour is to baked goods. It sits on the shelf in your cupboard, and when you need it, you go get it and you make whatever you're making, and that's what you use it for. And that works similar in the endocrine system. It allows your body to get what it needs, and you know, to help in the conversion processes to make over 87 hormones in the human body. And that's why we call it balance. And we refer to it as the mad, sad, happy, glad pill, because you know what? It takes you off of that roller coaster and puts you back on kind of an even keel. So that's immune, celebrate, and balance. To me, those are like oil, water, and gases in a car. You're not going to get very far without all three. From there, we look at nutrition. Nutrition's the parts. You got to have the calcium to rebuild the bone. You could have the potassium, magnesium for heart. You got all the parts, and there's 26 vitamins, minerals, and trace elements and other cofactors that allow your body to have the parts to rebuild these cells. Because I tell you, cells that don't have the parts, they're not rebuilt correctly. And you end up deficient in calcium, things like that. And a lot of times people look at the ingredient, they say, well, there's only 75 milligrams or 30 milligrams of, you know, and it's a particular mineral. An example, calcium. But I'll tell you something, you can't ground up enough concrete to put it in a pill. It does no good. Calcium is designed to come from plants. Plants eat rocks, water, and dirt. We eat plants. So we don't eat rocks, water, and dirt. That's why our body doesn't absorb any of that kind of stuff. So when you look at plant-based forms of calcium, it takes very little to give you an adequate amount because it's what the body's looking for. Let me give an example. It takes 1,000 milligrams of ascorbic acid to give your body 75 milligrams of pure vitamin C, because it has to take that compressed coal tar that is heated and reheated so many times it mimics a vitamin C molecule. And that's why when you put it in your tummy without food, it kind of makes you upset, kind of can feel it burping it up and things, because it's not food. Your body doesn't know what it is. So it has to biomark it. It's like my fist. My fist is not biomarked, but my fingers will tell you, hey, it's a hand, okay? And it's got these fingers on it, and I can recognize it. Well, so does vitamin C. It's in the food matrix, and your body goes, wow, I can recognize that. So it has to use a lot of enzymatic reactions, a lot of energy and things to rebiomark that chunk of coal you just put in your stomach so it can begin to recognize what it is. And it's going to flush about 75% because it can't recognize it. You're just going to flush it. And that last 25%, your body has to break down to begin to utilize that. And so it's going to flush another 75% of that. So now you're ending up with about 25% of 25% of 1,000 milligrams. Just do the math. And it's almost a waste of money. But if you take a bite of your orange, for instance, your body goes, oh, vitamin C, 100%, right there. Body takes it all. And that's when we talk about food forms and bases in food matrix, thing that is reactivated back into a food state. You know, your actual intestinal tract and your gut will actually re-ferment food. That's how your body uses it. And that's why it's important to have acid activated enzymes and live bacteria, you know, so it helps re-ferment and break that food down into molecular structures that your body can use. But if it can't do that, yeah, you know what? Most of it goes onto the river and you don't get real nutrition in it at all. That's why it's so critical. A lot of times we see people that, well, today they call it acid reflux disease because you can't treat heartburn, right? You got to only treat, you know, disorders, syndromes, and diseases. So now we have, what did I just say? Not heartburn, but acid reflux disease. Lost my train of thought here. And basically what's kind of happening there, and again, not to advise and prescribe or treat, but just to tell you straight up, your plumbing is plugged up. You know, you've probably been eating a lot of processed foods, has no live bacteria. It's all dead, and you can't live on dead stuff to begin with. So you're eating all this stuff. Maybe you munch on potato chips and things. I do too. I know I'm guilty. But, you know, that stuff has nothing in it for your digestive tract. And pretty soon your digestive tract begins to just stop because it can't break anything down. And all of a sudden you're backing up. So you take that little purple pill. You know, if you read the side effects of that purple pill right there, you drop it. You wouldn't touch it. If you knew what it has seen to cause in the body and esophageal related problems. So I can just tell you that's bad news. You know, when you look at trying to use a medication to offset what you're experiencing, because when you break that burn up, that's the acid trying to work, but it's missing other cofactors. The unique thing about daily is it's not only got all those parts, you know, for nutrition, vitamins, minerals, and trace elements and cofactors, but it's also got encapsulated live bacteria and acid activated forms of enzymes in that product. So the acid activated enzymes and the encapsulated bacteria within the capsule prevents the bacteria from breaking the shelf life down. That's why you can't buy a lot of probiotic products combined with other products because, well, the live bacteria will eat them up. So it kills the shelf lives on that. Excuse me. So when you look at daily, the unique form is that patented form of bacteria that stays encapsulated and is released in your intestinal tract. And that's really the big aha with that particular product. Not to mention, it's all put back into a natural food state. So when you take a capsule, you're actually getting a chunk of food. And it's those raw basic ingredients with all those live cofactors that your body can use to support digestion. Now, we'll tell you this, it's not a digestive product. So a lot of times people are already experiencing some problems there. For me, and just to tell you straight up, I go to Walmart and some other places, and they have a product called Good Bellies. It's just a choice that I choose. It's comes in like a little shot container. You can get a little pack of 6 of them, and that's I'm not paid by them, and I'm not promoting their product, but you know, I buy a little extra, and usually 2 or 3 times a week, I'm taking one of those to add to my digestive tract. And so that's just something that I've done over time. And a lot of times if you're experiencing some problems with digestion, you might consider adding that, because the good thing is with your immune and also these other cofactors and the things you're putting in it, they're designed to feed good, healthy bacteria. And if you're on a reboot program, everything you're putting in is designed to feed good, healthy bacteria. So if you just put a little extra in as you get on your program, I'll tell you, well, and not to be a joke, but it can be a moving experience. And that's a good thing, because when your body gets cleaned up and cleaned out, I'll tell you, it can make a world of difference in how you completely feel. Not to mention other things you may not even be aware of. Things like, you know, pimples and acne and things. And even in younger children, we see sometimes that is a lot of the factors that are coming from impacted digestive tracts. And personally, they just build up over time. And so we see that a lot of things that we see, you know, might be related to some of that. So you'd be surprised when you get the body working in each of these areas. Good filtered water. I'll tell you, there's the biggest problem I've run into in over 20 some years And when I'm trying to work with people, sometimes they'll say, well, yeah, absolutely, I drink a lot of water. And, they've got 1 8-ounce glass of water and they sip on it all day long. And they might weigh 150 pounds. It doesn't really matter how much you weigh, or, if you're overweight or underweight, it doesn't really matter, but your body is designed to have about half its body weight in ounces of water every single day. We're just normal. We should be hydrating on a regular basis. I've had people say, well, when I started drinking a lot of water, it just seemed like every 10 minutes I had to go to the bathroom. Well, yeah, that's because your body finally is getting new water. All of a sudden it's replenishing and it's dumping that water out of the fat cells, and all of that is beginning to hydrate. You guys can relate to this. How do you clean a radiator out? You take the top off, put the hose in, you take the valve off the bottom, turn the water on, and you let it run until it runs out clean at the bottom. And that's kind of what's happening with you. You're just beginning to urinate, you're just hydrating, and all that old water and everything is coming out of your system. 87% of your body is basically water anyway. So yeah, that's going to happen. It's a good sign. And just like when you get on a good program, sometimes you might have a couple of days where you might experience a little bit of stool related issues, going to the bathroom in the morning. That's okay. The body is cleaning house. And, praise God for that it's designed to do that. From there, good exercise. And the funny thing about supporting a good program here, a lot of times your energy is already coming back. Your sleep patterns, you're sleeping better already. All these things begin to happen. All of a sudden you're just up doing stuff. And, so your exercise almost becomes second nature. It becomes to just come along with you because you just feel like doing something. Before I go any further, I know we have a lot of people from down under that listen to some of these replays and all. And I want to just briefly say my little piece about entourage and entourage squared. What I've learned about the cannabis, and in particular the hemp, versus what we see in marijuana and things over this last 3 or 4 years, 2 or 3 years, I guess, has really been a learning curve for me too. And I've learned since then about the endocannabinoid system and how that system activates certain parameters in the body. And we've seen some people begin to have measurable responses in certain areas that we've seen Ace Mannon just not seem to bridge over into. Neurological related issues, severe multiple sclerosis, other related things. And again, not to make a claim or advise or prescribe, but some people sometimes taking good nutrition and they've seen some benefits, but maybe they're not moving down that road a little bit. And so some have seen some benefits there. And I think more is yet to be seen. And the reason that I'm not as vocal about the entourage and all is simply because it is new and the science is just now beginning to be proven. And so what we know about nanotechnology and how we've been able to create this hydrophilic format that bonds to the hydrogen in the water in your cells is groundbreaking. In fact, no other products are really rated against this level of technology. Why? Because we combine it with a water-soluble component called Ace Mannon. And it is water compatible with the hemp oil because of the nanotechnology. Nobody's done that. And so we didn't know at first if it was going to work. But we also know you got to shake the bottle, but that's okay. We've been able to create a very unique product there. And I think to some degree that the unsung hero is always going to be the Ace Mannon with it. And the reason I say that is even the delivery system of the entourage, by taking a milliliter or two and dropping it under the tongue, things underneath the tongue and through those natural mucosal factors tend to rapidly be absorbed into the blood. No, we don't talk sublingual. That's a medical term. But, putting it on the tongue can be beneficial. What can I say? So I've rambled a lot here. So I just wanted to cover some key things on these products. You can throw at me anything you want. I don't care if you've got a brother dealing with cancer, you've got somebody wanting to know about diabetes, because I'm going to answer everything correctly and I'm going to answer it legally. Because nobody should ever take claim that our products treat, cure, mitigate disease or take the place of a doctor's care and advice. And the reason for that is because the only claim to fame in anything in the human body belongs to the creator itself. And so he's the one that created this body. He knows how to run this body. He designed everything that is designed to go in this body. And believe me, I believe that's where it comes from. What we are doing, again, like Paracelsus through science, have begun to discover some of those things that seem to be beneficial, in the body. So that's what we take claim to, that we have scientifically found some very important things, and they tend to match with what's going on in the human body. Not something abstract that seems to work better than this or that, but something that actually complements everything and works in conjunction with it so that it works the way it was designed. There's not one other product next to water and air that can say that. There's not one other product besides air and water that can match and complement human physiology like the role of mannose and ace mannan. That we know scientifically. The line is open. You're welcome to unmute yourself. And Marlene, I'll turn this over to you. If anybody has a comment or a question or anything, I think I better get off my soapbox before I fall and hurt myself. So thank you.
Jeff, that was such important information, and we really appreciate you sharing your heart on that and your knowledge, your vast knowledge that you've studied for as long as I've known you, over 20 years. Mm. You know, when I started this, the products were really important to me because I was in a very compromised health situation. And I think a lot of people on here feel that same way. If you're new, you may be wondering. And while I won't get into details on my story, some of you know my story and maybe some of you don't. But I was diagnosed with congestive heart failure. My heart wasn't functioning very well. And my cardiologist told me he was going to need to surgically implant a defibrillator to save my life. And long story short, I took it seriously. I took the product seriously. I took more of some that I thought were important, particularly the ace mannan. And it wasn't long before he began to reduce my medications. But the other thing is he never had to implant that defibrillator. My heart got back to normal, and I am thrilled. And I know that our creator, like you said, Jeff, absolutely knows how our body works. He's the one who created it. And I think what we're all looking for here tonight is something that can really deliver results. And I consider that to be a huge value, particularly in my life. And for those of you who are on here, I would really like for you to think about if you would like to share. So I just want to go ahead and mention, I've got a dear friend on here, and I have twisted her arm. She's very not shy, but introvert, very much an introvert, she says. And I just, I want her to unmute herself. Janet Gentry, you know who you are. And okay, so you got your sound going?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Perfect. Thank you so much. So Janet has never spoken to any of our group before. And we met in college, and we've stayed connected. And Janet, you and your husband are just so dear, servants in God's kingdom, and so dear to us. And the results, because of the ace mannan that your husband Paul has experienced, have been so meaningful. Could you just briefly share?
Sure. Paul was diagnosed with early onset Parkinson's in 1997, so he's in his 23rd year. And of course, they put him on lots of medications, which were very hard on him. In 2007, he was so blessed to receive a deep brain stimulator, which is amazing technology. And his shaking, it's just unreal how it decreased dramatically. But he still felt so bad all the time, so lethargic, just miserable. By lunchtime every day, he was in his chair the rest of the day. Well, God wasn't through blessing us because sometime in 2007, I reunited with this dear lady here who I haven't seen in about 30 years. We got together when we were younger, and then we kind of got apart. But I do believe that God led us back together. Number one, because we were such great friends. But the main thing, I think God led us to the ace mannan. Paul was very doubtful about it. I made him take it faithfully. And he, fussed a bit about it. And I could see changes in him. He started to get energy back. And at the end of the month, I said, I'm going to order again. He said, well, okay. Well, after 6 weeks, he was telling me to order again. And his energy came back. He just felt better all the time. And it's just amazing. I mean, it's just an amazing, for him, it was healing for his body. And this is Paul, but about every 2 years, he'll say, this stuff is too expensive. I'm going to get off of it. So he'd get off of it for about 2 weeks, and then he'd say, nope, it's worth it. It's worth it. Every penny, it's worth it. He says, I can't be off this. And we love it. It's just made such a difference in our life. And we just couldn't be without it. Just couldn't be without it. So we're grateful. Grateful to God. Grateful to all these people that came up with this great technology. So thank you, Marlene.
Thank you, Janet. We love you guys.
Love you.
We'd love for someone else to share. If you want to unmute yourself. Christina, would you unmute yourself and tell us about your mother?
Hi, everybody. I got introduced to the product a couple of, about almost 2 weeks ago. And my mom is 79 years old. She got diagnosed with dementia about 67. And then I've had her living with me. And I've tried different things to try to help her, keep her here, keep her healthy, whole 9 yards. But when I got a hold of the immune and the balance and the limitless and the celebrate, I have seen such an amazing turnaround in the last week that it really blows me away. I was trying to get my son's attention, who helps me with my mom. And he was into his phone, of course. And I told Mom, I said, watch, Mom. And I started counting 1, 2, 3. Well, I stopped, and my mom just picked it up and started counting 4, 5, 6. And then on Friday of last week, she picked up a brush, which she has not brushed her hair in probably about 4 to 5 years. And she literally picked up the brush and brushed her hair properly all the way around her whole head, which kind of blew me away. And then the look is so much different. She's more alert, no glossiness over her eyes, and the whole 9 yards. And for me, I'm also injured. And that was part of the reason why, besides my mom, is I needed to get something in me to help my body, because I was injured in the military. Then I got in a car accident in 2008 where it shattered my heel and broke my kneecap 5 places. Well, my knee has just blown me away with within 3 days. I was able to pull my knee all the way back to a normal position, which hasn't been there since before my accident in 2008. So it's like, whoa, what's going on here? I can get down on the ground again without anything. I'm moving so much better. My whole body, I'm not on any pain meds, no ibuprofen, no nothing. And it's like, I wake up, I feel good. And I haven't felt like that since I don't know when. So that's our story.
Amazing.
That's a wonderful story, Christina. Thank you so much for sharing. Who even told you about the products?
Deborah.
You find them
Koska.
online, or what'd you say?
Deborah Koska.
Deborah Koska, a friend, right?
Yep. We've
I
been
just wanted to
together as
point
friends.
that out because don't we usually hear from friends?
Yeah.
Friends who love us.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Jeff, I see you've come back on.
I have something to
Yeah.
share.
Thank you for your service.
Oh, no problem.
Go ahead, Lane.
When we started on these products, we go to for wellness testing. And so we took the Entourage and the Immune because they can test like the quality of the product. And we were told they are exceptional. So just sharing that.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. That's awesome.
You're welcome.
You know, the stories get me. You know, you don't, when you experience it and you realize that somebody else has experienced something, and then you hear your story, Marlene or Christina, what you just shared, and your mom. You know, I'll tell you, I remember Paul. Remember Paul well, Janet, and you know, to see this progress in such a good way is not what it's not the normal. So that's what I work for. You know, sometimes I get thinking, well, I'm just tired. I've been doing this a long time. And, you know, but, you know, it's like a friend of mine called me today. I've known her since high school. And, you know, I've seen a few posts, and she'd been dealing with lung cancer, and she'd been in the hospital and had an infection. One thing led to another. And, you know, I think she and I talked almost 20 years ago, as a matter of fact, and I had said something then, but, you know, I just didn't go back, and I've been discouraged just to reach out to some of my friends, because, you know, they're friends. They've known me my whole life, and they've already laughed at me for a few years. I don't want to go back and endure that again. And so, yeah, I prejudge. I do it just like everybody. I tell you not to, but I don't practice what I preach sometimes. But we do that. And so I didn't get with her when I started seeing some things. I know what she's been dealing with, and I've got a lot of other friends that I've seen go through stuff too. But she called me this morning, and all I said last night was, God, if I'm supposed to reach out to somebody, you let me know. And last time I talked to her was at a funeral of a friend about 3 years ago. So follow the lead, follow the seed that's planted, because there's somebody out there. You know, what an honor to hear your story, Christina. I've had a few interactions with Deborah. Let me tell you, she is not just a friend. She's a driving force. And, you know, when God put wings on that girl, he gave her some strict orders, and she carries them out very well. So, and I know she's hearing me. I hope her ears are burning. So, Marlene, is there anything else?
Jeff, may I say one more thing, please?
Sure.
Yeah.
I forgot this really important thing. In our journey in Parkinson's, we've been through with a lot of people, a lot of friends that have had Parkinson's and everything. And there is one big difference. And these are people that have had the same experience of Paul. They've had the deep brain stimulator about the very same time, and just kind of a similar journey. But Paul just stands out from everybody so much. Most of the people that we know that has Parkinson's, the same amount of time, the same deep brain stimulator, they take 8 times more medication than Paul does. That says a lot to me, because something about the Ace Mannon is doing something in his body that makes him so different from all the others. So just wanted to put that in there. I forgot that. Thank you.
Janet, I was hoping you were going to talk about how many hundreds of tomato plants and pickles puts up every year. And I
Well,
mean,
I forgot that.
I know Ron went out because, you know, gardening is important to him. And I know Ron went out to try to help him plant some tomato plants a few years ago, and Ron couldn't hold up.
No. 125 pints of pickles summer before last. So yes, has been so active, and we're just very blessed about it. So thank
Paul,
you.
Pack of pickled peppers. How many packs of pickled peppers did Paul pick?
Not enough, Jeff, not enough.
Okay.
Jeff,
It looks like Glenna
Glenna.
has something to share.
Yes.
Glenna, can you unmute yourself?
I'm looking over here.
Does anyone have any questions on while we're waiting for Glenna? Does anyone have any questions? I know we're coming down to the end here. You're welcome to type something in the chat if you want, but we just have about another minute.
You don't want me calling you out now. I mean, I've been known to call on anybody at any time for about any reason. So I'm telling you, Kenneth, you better watch out. I'll call you sometime too. So I'm seeing you. So, but the line is open, you know, and this is your deal. And again, my mom said one time, it doesn't matter how successful you are or anything. You got to have a reason to get out of bed every day. And to me, this is the reason. And we all know a few, and reaching out to them is probably the hardest thing in some ways we'll probably do. It comes with a lot of emotion, a lot of care, and you know, it comes with a lot of resistance too. Go ahead.
Keep harping on this, Jeff. I wished everybody would open their cameras and we're a family, and whether you combed your hair today or not, it's okay. Just open your cameras and let us see who we're talking to.
That's true. That's true. And I might turn mine off because of that, but that's okay.
Then thank you, Matt.
Matt there next to his place of business, and you're never too busy to
Oh, thank you, folks. When we get down to impact, I want to see who I'm hearing on this all the time.
Absolutely. Hi, Carol. I see you got your friend with you. Uh-huh.
I have a question.
Yes.
When you want to take kind of a mass amount, like the 8 or 10 immune, and if it's difficult to swallow pills, can you just open the capsules and like put it in a drink or some sort, a smoothie?
Absolutely.
Would that have the same effect?
It will just dissolve and absolutely have the same effect. I want to warn you, it's rather pungent. So if you open up 8 or 10 capsules and just put them in water, don't call me because it's going to taste pretty bad. But
applesauce, when my husband was in the nursing home, they put everything in applesauce. And they could eat, he could eat, as long as he didn't bite on
Something?
and have beets foaming out of his mouth, he was okay.
I jokingly say that, believe it or not, you can put the ace-mannan in coffee. It tones down the acidity of coffee. In fact, there's coffees out there that have ace-mannan, not this type of ace-mannan, but it's a type of, you can add it to your coffee and it'll really enhance coffee. And I don't mean just for an immune support. So what it does to tone down the acidic nature of coffee. So I've heard people doing that. I've heard people put it in orange juice because the acidic nature of the orange juice actually kind of stimulates the activation of it. So it's beneficial. I've heard that you don't really want to put it in something like oatmeal. Oatmeal is very absorbent and it can carry it through your system. And so that's just a rumor I've heard. I don't know if that's actual fact. I've had some people, put 2 or 3 capsules in water and it disappears. It's a little cloudy because of the sunflower lecithin. If it wasn't for that, it would disappear. It looked like clear water. It doesn't clump up or anything. And but it does have a little bit of a taste to it. Be aware of that. And I joke about that, but so.
Can I share something real quick?
Yes, ma'am.
Can I share a story? I recently went to the doctor for a physical. Of course, she couldn't do it because I'm going to be 65 pretty soon, and so I have to wait till Medicare kicks in. But she was looking at my results. I had to have an upper GI series because I have Barrett's esophagus and acid reflux real bad. And she, when she got the test results back, she says, I don't know what you're doing, but whatever it is, it says you don't even look like you have Barrett's esophagus anymore.
Wow.
And she says, and there's no cure for that. So she said, maybe we didn't take a clipping at the same spot we did for the last 10 years. I said, no. I said, no, that's not what it is. One, I give God all the glory for my healing, but
awesome.
you know, I love the products. I don't do without them.
That's incredible.
So I just think that's pretty awesome.
It's amazing. She thought she clipped the same spot for the last 9 years, exact same spot, but just not this year.
Have to. Yeah, she says you kind of have to because it's right in a certain area. And but when she showed me my pictures and stuff, I didn't see, it looked like a really good esophagus now. So
that's awesome.
That's a great
story. Pretty excited. Thank you
for
letting me share.
Spontaneous remission or something like that one time. That's awesome.
Talking about trying to get Ace Mannon in. I'm in Dallas, keeping my grandchildren, and the 18-month-old had a barky cough and runny nose, and so I hope Pops, yes, she doesn't really like to celebrate, so I took her little applesauce pouch, opened a capsule, and dumped it right down in the pouch. I had tried to feed it to her on a spoon, but she's so independent, she wanted the pouch. You know, she wanted the pouch. So I just stuck it down in the top of the pouch. She probably got, it was about a half a capsule, but she probably got the whole load at the beginning, but she didn't seem to flinch and went on.
You're such an underhanded grandmother. I just give you the award for being the best. That's all I can say.
We have to do that with picky grandkids.
Probably learn that from Marlene, your upline too.
But I'll tell you what, to tell this story, I'm hiding in the laundry room.
Okay, it's time to come out of the closet or I mean the laundry room. But I rephrase that. So, hey, the line is open. We can get back to the business here if you'd like. So, just kidding. We can go on, but you know it's about 5 after the hour, and we've had a long evening, and you know my time is your time, as they say, mi casa, your casa, and so. You know, if anybody has a comment, the line is open. Anything else?
I just want to thank you. And if you would be doing it another night, I take it that you would most likely send texts out if that were to happen, or when you resume Wednesday nights.
Yes, and you know the only reason I stepped aside a minute is because Vince is doing this training, and I don't exactly know what time he's going to do that. And you know, I'm here 7 days a week, and Sunday is our day of rest. But you know, we serve the Lord, and Sunday nights at 9 p.m. Central Time, I follow Sam on Monday evening. You know, for whatever that he chooses, but there's other nights besides Wednesday night, and I just love doing what I do, and actually, and I'm sure you all may, and I hope you reach the point of going, wow, I don't know what to do. There's just so much to do and so much to talk about and bits and pieces. Sometimes I call Marlene, what are we going to talk about this week? And because there's just so many different facets, and sometimes you get to hearing enough in so many areas, you forget that, hey, there's new people that don't know anything about this or that. And that's who we're really here to serve. And so you tell me. And in some cases I've had people call me and say, you know, I've got several people, can you just, you know, cover Ace Mannon? And so we do just a Zoom on Ace Mannon, and we touch on that, do a little bit of a PowerPoint. Some people say, would you cover that 5K run that you did a few months back? And we do that occasionally, and I'm here anytime to do that. I know 1 o'clock on Thursday afternoons, every other week, we're doing a live Zoom with the UK and people in Europe. I know at 9 p.m. on Friday night, we're doing a live Zoom with Australia, New Zealand, Singapore, and some of the Asian community. And so there's stuff starting to pop up a little bit of everywhere. And it's just what I do, and I love it. And
I would like to bring up many of our replays, not all, but we have saved a lot of the ones that have been our favorites, such as perhaps tonight we'll have to get Jeff's approval based on our content. But Aaron puts those up on Hope Movement Replays, and replays is plural, .info. So if you want the information, you go to .info, right? So Hope Movement Replays.info, and you can see that 5K run, how you do that. There are many things. You can see a lot of things, and some of them do cross over to the ones that we have on our app, or possibly even in the library for those of us who have decided to go ahead and set up an account with Elevea. But I just wanted to mention Hope Movement Replays.info. Anyone can go there. And you can also share from each video. Aaron has set up a shareable icon, I guess you'd call it.
Just a real quick note on that. I've heard from a couple people that the site wasn't working properly. It should be up. So if it's not loading on your computer, just clear out your cookies and then it should load just fine. But every now and then that's an issue. Like if you get a cookie from an old version.
thank you, Aaron. And I experienced that too. And for whatever reason, it would just sit there and scroll and not connect. And I closed my Firefox and went to my Safari browser, and it came up just right off the bat. So I just tried a different browser for me too. And so it's whatever it is. I don't know what it is, but
Different cookies.
that's right. So
I like my
sometimes your
cookies from the
computer
double
needs
tree.
to lose its cookies too. So
I don't allow them in the house anymore.
Raisin Bran.
yes, so true. Hey, any last comments? If not, all you can deals. Let's make this an incredible week.
Thanks, Marlene and Aaron, for your time.
Thank you,
Yes,
Marlene.
You're
thank
so
you
welcome.
all.
Thank
And
you,
Jeff.
Marlene.
Marlene and Jeff.
Janet.
Yes.
Good
night,
night, Marlene.
Good night,
Faithfulness.
everybody.
Hey, Anna.
Hey.
Night.
Bye. I
God
don't know how
bless.
to bless.